In scientific theories of star formation, hundreds of thousands of years are required for a dust cloud to somehow collapse and a new star to be born. A variety of stars are known to exist, and dust clouds have now been discovered, which are assumed to be stellar nurseries. The theory says that dust clouds collapse to become a star, but the process has never been observed.
Every star in the universe burns by the power of nuclear fusion. This article says that the smallest micro to the most complex life found on alien worlds exists because of the cataclysmic fit happening at the heart of every star. Current theories on planetary formation teach that stars explode and produce swirling clouds of gas and dust, and then through accretion, planets were formed. Accretion is an accumulation of gas and dust in space that produces a localized mass, clumps of gas that collapse in circumstellar disks.
You have an estimated 300 billion trillion stars in the universe and an estimated age of the universe at 14 billion years. You can't form that many stars in 14 billion years. The elements are said to be formed by the fusion and explosions occurring in stars over deep time. However, no laboratory experiment exists to sustain a nuclear fusion reaction.
At its most basic level, nuclear fusion occurs when two light individual atoms combine or fuse together. In our solar system star, the Sun, two hydrogen atoms combine to produce a helium atom, which lets off an insane amount of energy. Billions of hydrogen atoms fusing in the Sun is releasing the energy as heat or light upon the Earth. For nearly a century, scientists have known that this explosive dance of ionized plasma at the heart of our Sun is what bathes our planet in light and heat. And since that discovery, universities, laboratories, government agencies, and international coalitions have invested billions into finding some way to bottle the Sun. Some of the richest people in the world are forging ahead with varying ways to create commercial fusion, mimicking the process of the stars to create clean, limitless energy. With ignition finally achieved, physics show that bottling the stars on our planets is possible, but developing the technology is going to be difficult because efficient, compact, and cost-effective sources must be used to achieve it and make it commercial. Scientists are still lacking a breakthrough in the materials that are able to withstand the intense temperatures found within the machines. This is how the universe and all the stars are producing energy. And if you can harness it effectively and efficiently, then we have the solution to the energy problem, and we don't have to use coal or nuclear fission, which is the breaking apart of elements to produce energy.
How could it happen in outer space without a cause if they can't sustain one in the laboratory? Out of the remnants of these exploding stars, the elements such as aluminum, titanium, and calcium get scattered through space. These elements are necessary to form the rocky inner solar system planets like Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars.
Atoms are composed of a certain number of neutrons, and if you change that number, then you change the atom. So when you take two hydrogen atoms, you're combining those protons to produce a heavier element with more protons, and that would be helium. To fuse two protons together, you need excessive heat and pressure to be able to overcome the repulsion of a mutual electrostatic resistance shared between the protons. According to the first law of thermodynamics, matter cannot be created or destroyed. So matter doesn't just simply disappear, it is converted into energy according to E=mc². The elements that scientists are using to practice fusion today are primarily deuterium and tritium, which has a fuel that releases the equivalent energy of 2,400 gallons of oil. If the sun were to exhaust the hydrogen, then you would have nothing but helium, turning it into a red giant. The sun experiences 100 million quadrillion fusion reactions every second. The sun provides the blueprint for how to achieve nuclear fusion and create limitless energy, but there are a few problems that make mimicking the sun an impossibility. The reason that protons can fuse in the sun is because the elements are contained by the gravity of the sun. Many hundreds of Earths could be fit in the sun because it is so massive, and that mass creates a heavy gravitational force which keeps the elements in the sun consistently fusing together, and the energy cannot escape because of the gravitational effect. You have to have gravity for fusion to take place because you have to get enough particles together and keep them hot and hold them long enough for the fusion reaction to take place. So scientists have developed machines to keep the elements inside and squeeze them together, or use other mechanisms to try to push the two atoms into fusion. And if it gets too hot, it will actually damage the capsule, because what's happening inside is producing temperatures that are hotter than the sun. Therefore, they have to keep the actual capsule that they're using to produce fusion cooled off. The inside of these capsules are lined with blankets covered in beryllium, which is able to collect the kinetic energy of neutrons being produced by the fusion and convert that energy into heat by transferring the heat from the blankets to water coolant, which is then used in turbines to power by electromagnetic induction, which is how every power plant, whether coal or nuclear, works today. Lawrence Livermore at the National Laboratory in California fired 192 lasers at a small pellet and essentially squeezed the deuterium-tritium fuel inside, and that they produced a higher level of energy or more heat that was actually used to produce the fusion. And so what they got was a successful ignition. The spherical deuterium-tritium pellet inside collapsed at roughly 250 miles per second, but the containment lasted only 100 trillionths of a second. It was long enough to produce a significant amount of energy, but it could not be sustained. Neither has any laboratory sustained a fusion ignition.
Planetesimals are formed, which also grow by low energy collisions and so on. It's storytelling based on the observed fact that planets do exist around their central stars. But the fact is, there is no natural way to produce a star or a planet. No simulation exists that starts with just a gas cloud, but rather a simulated form of dark matter which can't actually be observed or tested, or stars cannot be formed naturally, or planets through the accretion model. It has many unsolved and even insurmountable problems. Interstellar gas clouds are too large and diffuse too easily for gravity to overcome gas pressure, so they won't collapse and form stars or planets. They'll disperse instead.